What's up everyone, my name is Michael, I'm the Moto Barista, and here we're talking all things motorcycles and damn fine coffee. You know what this is the Indian Chieftain Dark Horse. I am so excited to finally be riding this bike. This bike in this bronze smoke has been haunting my dreams for the last year. Finally now I'm able to take it out for a spin. It's a beautiful day, it's getting pretty warm, so it's perfect riding weather. And I just want to give a big shout out to Brett at Indian Motorcycles Perth for letting me take this for a spin. I'm test riding the 111 engine. This is the 2019 model. It has a stage 1 exhaust on it. Apart from that, everything else is stock. I'm out in the hills, having to rip through the turns, taking it on some highway, and really just want to give you my opinion on it. And I'm not gonna lie guys, this is awfully tempting. All right, let's jump back on, let's get riding. Alrighty, so let's talk a bit about the bike. So let's start things off with what you will want to know, which is performance. The 111 is really nice. I test rode the 111 in a Springfield about a year ago, and that was before Indian released the rider modes. And these rider modes are, as you probably know already, a touring, standard, and sport mode, and it just changes the throttle response. Now, I stuck it in standard just to take off, but to be honest, most of this test ride is going to be in sport mode, and that's probably where I'm going to leave it most of the time, unless I'm doing a long distance run, in which case obviously touring would make sense. I would also use that touring mode in the rain, and as you know I ride every day, so often I do get caught out. It rains rarely here, but when I do, throwing that touring mode on just to soften off that throttle response, it's just going to help me keep traction in the wet. But when it comes to actual performance and getting this bike moving, it's really good fun. It's actually quite surprised me. This is the first time I've ridden a full fairing bike, and I was a bit worried about the weight and how that would handle, and how the power would handle that weight, and it seems to be really good. Now obviously this is a bigger engine than my 107 in my Sport Glide. I would say that the power to weight ratio feels quite similar. I would say if anything that my Sport Glide's still got a little bit of acceleration pull on it compared to the Chieftain here, but that's probably a lot to do with the fact that I have a 2-in-1 SNS exhaust and an SNS air cleaner plus tuning on that bike. Whereas this bike has a slip-on stage 1 exhaust from Indian, and that's all. So I think that with a full exhaust 2-in-1 on this bike, an air filter and some tuning, I think this bike would really fly. I think it'd be a lot of fun. But that's not to say it's lacking at the moment. It's really good fun. I've been rallying through the turns up here and I've been having a really good time. It's definitely got power whenever you need it. In terms of handling, I would actually say this bike feels very similar to the Sport Glide, particularly going around the turns. Now obviously there's a little bit more weight on the handlebars, so as you start to turn, you can feel the bike wanting to tip in a little bit more. But as soon as you're used to that, it actually feels quite nice and you can really get into the turns really nicely. Low speed handling obviously takes a little bit to get used to, but finding that friction zone, counterbalancing your steers around the corners, and this becomes very manageable. I was a bit nervous going to such a big front heavy bike and top heavy bike, but you know what? It's been absolutely fine and I'm really enjoying it. I'm feeling at home on a full fairing. It feels really, really good. Brakes are pretty good. I probably want a little bit more bite, particularly on that front brake. I haven't pushed it too hard, but one moment when I did, it felt a little bit mushy, but I think I could probably pull that a bit harder, and I'm not really going to push those brakes on this test ride, of course. But overall, performance-wise, for a big bike like this, the power is great, and the handling through the turns is really fun. Like, you could definitely have a lot of fun on this bike, and I think that's what this kind of bike is made for. It's about getting out and traveling and adventuring, and then when you get to somewhere cool and you find some cool roads, you can still throw it into them and have a good time. the next thing I want to talk about is the comfort of this bike. So obviously jumping on a big bike like this, these are made for long distance and they're made to be comfortable. So let's think about kind of just ergonomics and the rider positioning. We'll think a bit about the wind management as well. So in terms of positioning, I love the stock bars. For me, my arms are nice and relaxed, and the elbow and wrist are at a very similar height, which I really find comfortable. I don't like my arms up near my shoulders. So I'm finding that really comfortable, and I've got a nice upright seating position. The seat itself is a very comfortable position, but the seat is quite soft. It's a very soft foam, which is very common for manufacturer seats. And already into an hour test ride, and I'm starting to feel that seat pan. I'm starting to get hot spots. It's starting to be a little bit uncomfortable. Another thing about the seat is that because it's so soft, the lumbar support actually compresses when I accelerate, which is kind of cool because the bike's fast enough and pulls enough to make that happen. But at the same time, it does feel like I'm almost coming off the back of the seat because of the acceleration of the bike and that soft lumbar support. So if I had this bike, I would definitely swap out that seat, probably get a Saddleman road sofa. That's a really nice seat, and I have one on my Sport Glide, which is really comfortable. So I'd probably switch that out. But otherwise, obviously a very comfortable bike, which you would expect for any kind of bagger like this. Wind management is great. Obviously having a nice big fairing helps. In terms of wind management on my head, it's very similar to my Sport Glide. Now I have the windshield on it. So there's a little bit of like wind still on the head. Adjusting the windshield height is really nice on this bike, which means I can just fine tune it and find where that spot is that lets in some air but doesn't have wind buffeting. So it's a little bit of play to get it right, but it does get there in the end. Now, the big factor is because of that fairing, it stops a lot of air wrapping around the tank and coming into my chest and over my arms compared to my Sport Glide. So there's definitely a lot more wind being stopped on this bike, and I think I like it. I do like having wind in my face, but having that intense pressure on the body is quite annoying after a while, and this is a fix for that. The last thing that I want to touch on then is, I guess, the fit and finish of this bike. And I mean, it goes without saying, this bike looks amazing. So this bronze smoke in particular has, I kid you not, been on my mind for the last year, ever since I saw it. I love that bronze color. It looks really awesome. That's kind of where I took it to this spot here with this like red dirt on the ground, because I think it just really kind of tells the story of this motorcycle. This motorcycle is all about exploring. It's about adventuring. It's about being on two wheels and taking yourself to places that you would never go if it weren't for this motorcycle. And it does it really, really well. The actual matte paint is really nice quality. It has a nice speckle to it as well, which is really, really nice. It looks really top end. Engine is a beautiful engine. The only thing is that I probably would prefer those rocker box covers to be a matte finish. That's obviously changeable, but that would have been nice stock, but it is a beautiful engine. The floorboards look good. We've got the blacked out finish on the Dark Horse, which of course makes this look really good, really, really nice. And I really like the new tank badges that Indian have been putting out. I think it gives it a really nice high-end look and a high-end feel to it as well. So it's been really good. I haven't used the infotainment too much, but the stuff that I have used, changing different ride modes, moving between my maps, playing some radio, it's been really easy to use. I can't believe how loud that radio goes. That's really awesome. So I would definitely use that if I had a bike like this. Yeah, it's just really, really nice bike, guys. I don't know what else to say. All right, so if I was to buy this bike, what would I change? Well, I think the first thing would be the exhaust. This is the Stage 1 exhaust from Indian, and it's a little bit lackluster. I would like a little bit more growl and a little bit more bite when I pull on that throttle. So I'd probably look at someone like S&S or even D&D. I think they would make a really good exhaust. It'd be 2-into-1, so a bit more torque, a bit more power, and obviously gonna give it a little bit more rumble, a bit more sound. I'll obviously add a Stage 1 air cleaner to go with it and a tune. The next thing would be a seat. I would get the road sofa from Salomon, like I said before, throw a sissy bar on with a back pad for the passenger. And apart from that, maybe a few cosmetic things here and there, but this bike is really kind of set to go, which is really great out of the box. The brakes are good, suspension's really nice, it handles really great because of that monoshock suspension. So I don't really think there's too much to do in terms of having to add more and more to this bike. I think it's really great out of the box. And just a few stage one customizations, few aesthetics just to make it your own is where this bike would be completely finished, I think, in my opinion. So this review comes out in the recent announcement of the Indian Challenger motorcycle with its new Power Plus 107. So how does this 111 Thunderstroke play in that role? Well, I think that the Thunderstroke's probably here to stay, with the 2020 models now offering a 116 version. I think as long as the laws allow us, manufacturers will continue to produce these big air-cooled engines. But I think that new Power Plus engine, the liquid cooled from Indian, we could probably see that going into their touring line over the next few years. I think Harley will probably have to match as well. And this is mainly just because those laws are coming down on us and we're gonna have to start moving to liquid cooled engines because of emissions. Now, I'll definitely be test riding that Challenger when it comes to Australia. It's not gonna be well into April, I've heard. So we're gonna have to wait for that. Personally, as much as I love that engine, I don't see myself riding in those high RPMs as much. I'm definitely a low RPM cruiser. So as much as that engine's going to be amazing, I don't know if I would utilize it all myself. I'm also not a fixed fairing guy. I really don't like the aggressive shark nose look. It looks a bit too much for me. I really like the more classically minded batwing fairing, which is why I was excited to jump on this Chieftain today. I haven't ridden the Street Glide yet, and I'm gonna hopefully do so soon. But look, I gotta head back. It's time for me to take this bike back to the dealer. We'll see if it ends up coming home with me. Maybe not today, but maybe at some point. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think to Indian? What do you think to the Chieftain? I'd like to hear your opinion on the manufacturer in general. You know, I think they're really listening to the market and listening to their customers, giving us what we want from a motorcycle. I think that the high level quality of bikes that Indian are putting out, hopefully is making Harley think and Harley listen to its customers. Competition is always great in the marketplace. It's just going to end up with better products for us riders and hopefully at even better prices. So the more competition, the better, and I think Indian is great competition to really start going toe-to-toe with Harley Davidson. That's all for me. Be sure to ride safe, drink some damn fine coffee, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.